Alright, it seems like we're live. I'm gonna wait a couple of seconds just to make sure that the audio and the video, everything is working fine. For those of you who are tuning in live, welcome to today's masterclass on the art of teaching yoga. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Wenlin. Today I'll be sharing with you 3 tips on how you can begin to prepare and to launch your yoga programs. And before we even get into this topic, I just want to quickly check if anyone is tuning in. So likewise, like every session, I see this more of as an interactive session, and if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I would love to hear from you if you're tuning in live, where you're tuning in from, how you're feeling today. Yeah, let me know. And I'll be very happy to answer if you have any questions, of course. So over the past week, there have been a lot of exciting events, right? Many things happening across the globe. There have been a stream of this series of vaccinations happening all across of Europe. Also in the US, they've started to vaccinate a lot of people. Also in the US yesterday, what happened was Biden has officially been inaugurated as the president. So great. I'm very happy for all our friends who are based in the US. I think this is a time more than ever that yoga is really a practice that is very beneficial and helpful to everyone. And as yoga teachers, I think before we think about launching the yoga programs or whatever you have in mind, I want to invite you to really take the time and the space to really care for yourself first. Notice how you're feeling today. Notice how you're feeling this week. And especially if you're tuning in, and also if you're female, or one thing that I find would be useful, not necessarily relating to today's topic, is the idea of giving yourself the necessary rest and planning your activity cycle. So if we talk about launching your yoga programs or even teaching your classes, when you schedule your classes in terms of a series or in terms of the program, not just planning them in mind with your students in mind, but also having yourself in mind. And if you're tuning in and you're female, one of the things that you could consider, very, very important, before we talk about tips, not a proper tip, but from my own experience, is that you could consider scheduling and adjusting this program according to your own energy levels, according to your moon cycles. All right, because I know interacting with a lot of you guys, for example, I think some weeks back I spoke to Ella, and she was saying it was a full moon and she was really feeling this energy. Hi, buongiorno. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome. Yeah, and the same goes for me, right? I really feel that us as women, what we can do to really harness the energy we have is to find that balance between each of the different cycles. Like, for example, when we're usually when we're at our peak, let's say within our moon cycle, when we are ovulating, this is the time when we are the most attractive, right? And this is scientific. It can be proved and measured in terms of our hormone levels, in terms of our complexion, in terms of our mood, our energy levels. And this might be the best time, for example, for you to do outreach, for you to do promotion, for you to do all kinds of layering, the kind of things that's more outward facing, that's attracting, that's more sales related. And then, for example, of course, during menstruation and the premenstrual period would be a different time, and you might use that time differently to begin to, for example, plan or do the scheduling, or maybe you might use that time to really sit down and look at, for example, the different administrative aspects or whatever's happening in your life that needs some clearing and needs like some removal. So, for example, in my own case, I've used this entire week. Some of you have probably seen in some earlier weeks I've been very, very active, sharing about the art of teaching yoga across different forums. This week for me and a little bit of last week has been really looking more inwards and doing a lot of preparation for the upcoming 5-day Launch Your Yoga Career Challenge, and also just setting up for that, also clearing the cobwebs. There's been some obligations, some work-related obligations, and also like my own personal obligations that I've used this time, this downtime, to actually really settle and cut clean. Because when you cut clean and when you begin to clarify the things that are not serving you anymore, and you really be firm and say no, then you can really make space and make energy for whatever is coming up that you want to say yes to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Rebecca. So this is one of the things that I'm right now in the process of undergoing this 100-day business. It's not specifically related to yoga, it's for entrepreneurs. Incubator for people who want to really begin to accelerate their business and enterprise. So one of the things that our coach, our mentor Manuel, was sharing with us was the idea of having seasons. If you think about it, and if you study Ayurveda, right, and also within yoga, we often think about the different elements and also the different seasons. So this is one way of looking at it. And if you think about in summer, it being the most strong, a fiery period, right? You might want to adjust the style of yoga you're teaching. So that would be the same with regards to your own planning, your own programs. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about the launch right now. And this term might be new to you. Please bear with me if it is new. I will begin to explain this. But if you have already heard of this, stay tuned. There will still be something new towards the end that I think might be of use to you. Okay, so really, I have a couple of notes here. What I want to share with you is the idea that I've already mentioned this in one of the previous masterclasses on how to grow your audience, is that as a yoga instructor, one of the best things you can do, firstly, is to stop selling individual classes. So you don't offer drop-ins, but instead look at your offerings in terms of a program, a journey that you're taking someone from point A to point B, right? So from one beginning point to where they are right now to where they want to be. So let's use a very specific example, because I think I mentioned a little bit about this in the previous example, and I will be covering some of this in greater detail in the upcoming 5-day challenge. But today I'll just talk about it very briefly. So let's say you have a specific student in mind and you've been serving a group of people, and maybe say these people are beginners to yoga. Right, so these are maybe most of them are mid-career professionals. Maybe they spend a lot of time working from home, and many of them have shoulder aches or back pain. So this might be your main clientele or your main target. So if this is your clientele, what do you think their goal would be? What do you think would be beneficial for them? Something that helps to soothe the shoulder ache, something that helps to alleviate the back pain, right? So don't just offer, it's good to offer, for example, classes in which you say that, shoulder relief yoga or back pain yoga or something. That would be great. But we all know that within one class there is there's limited amount of influence and benefit that we can offer as an instructor. And as an instructor, and also as a business person, right, as a yoga professional, what I would encourage you to do is to think about it as a process. So you want to guide your clients through an entire process from start to finish. So ideally, for example, if we look at this client maybe, and you want to guide them through this process from the beginning to the end, this might be that after this maybe 8-week or 10-week, or if that's too much for you, even a 4-week program in which there's a specific sequence and there's a rationale and there's a process in which you guide them through this, and you guide them through their bodies, or maybe through a framework or through some form of knowledge, so that at the end of the process they would have felt this transition, this difference in their bodies or in their minds. And this is what I mean by a yoga program or yoga journey. So I will elaborate more about this within the 5-day challenge, right? But just as an introduction, if this is new to you, think of it as your own yoga teacher training, right? So I think the yoga teacher training would be the best way of your idea of what is a program. A yoga teacher training is typically anything from 3 weeks. I know some people, an intensive program might be 3 weeks up to even 6 weeks, or even some yoga programs are 3 months, right? And then on site. And then what you do is at the beginning of the program, you're not trained yet to be an instructor. At the end of the program, you become an instructor, and you're equipped with the knowledge to teach yoga. You can formally call yourself a yoga instructor, so on and so forth. So that would be the same but at a smaller scale. Think of that as a smaller scale and with respect to what you can offer for your clients and for your students. So what is a launch, right? If we think about yoga programs, why do we need a launch? Or what specifically is a launch? So a launch is just another way of saying a marketing campaign. So hold your horses. I know some of you who are tuning in as you hear the word marketing campaign, you might be like, oh my God, why do I have to do this? What is this marketing? I'm not good at marketing. I don't want to sell myself, blah, blah, blah. Okay, hold your horses. Whatever self-limiting beliefs, whatever thoughts you have, whatever impressions you have with regards to sales and marketing, hold that for a moment. Okay, just put that aside just briefly and think about the benefit of your program. Think about your students. Think about at the end of the program, how much they would really enjoy the program, and just think about all their pains and aches and whatever they are going on a daily basis without your program, how they would be living. And think about that change that they would have experienced after the program because of your help. And this is what you are going to do. You're going to convey this through your marketing campaign, through your messages, through your communication with them, right? With your authentic voice, with your care, with your concern, and not as a point of selling, right? We can talk about selling later on, and also within the 5-day challenge, I talk about this as a separate module. But really, the marketing campaign or the launch is a series of planned actions that you do before you actually launch or before you actually make available your program. So if we talk about a program and an example, a good example or a commercial or mainstream example would be movies, right? Let's think about movies. Right? Usually 2 years or even 3 years before a movie is released, what do we hear about first? First, we hear about interviews, right, with a movie star, maybe some journalist from, a very famous magazine or online journal, Marie Claire, or perhaps some other online journal. They interview maybe Hugh Grant, or maybe, I don't know, some other movie star, I'm not sure, Julia Roberts. And then they hear that, Julia Roberts reviews that, I'm in the process of filming this movie, it's about this plot, I can't tell you too much, but it'll be in the cinemas in 2 years' time. So this is already dropping the hints, right? Starting to seed, this process is called seeding, starting to relay the information that there is this something that you can look forward to. So an equivalent in your own marketing campaign might be even as you are planning, showing the work in process. Maybe, for example, you're creating a poster or you're setting up a website or a landing page for your upcoming program. You can even just take a screenshot or do a short GIF or for example, create a short video clip about yourself talking about, I'm so excited, I'm in the process of putting together, the curriculum or the program for this upcoming 4-week program for remote workers to relieve shoulder pain. And then you post that out on your social media platforms, on various groups, or maybe if you have a mailing list, send it out to your mailing listees. So then they know, oh, wow, there's something to look forward to in the coming weeks. And you can even have the option for them to opt in if they are already interested. So this gives you an idea of who is already your high target, people who are more likely to convert or more likely to purchase your program. Okay, so this is one of the ideas of the pre-launch. So let's go back to the idea of the movie. So even before the movie is available, right, we've already seen the poster of the movie, we've heard about the interviews, right, of the movie with like some movie star, and then closer and closer to the movie, what happens, the release date. We start to see the trailer of the movie, right? And essentially what the trailer of the movie is it gives you a preview of what the movie is like and how you're going to feel as you're watching the movie, and gives you an idea of what the process is as you are watching the movie, and it really entices you to want to then purchase a ticket to go and watch the movie, right? So this is the same, and we as yoga teachers can do the same. So I started to do some of this, right, with my programs, because I offer different style of yoga that's a little bit unique, and some of you are a bit more familiar with, like for example, Rebecca, you would be more familiar with it. But for those people who have not tried your classes, they may not know what it's like. Right? So even if you ask them, for example, to join a free class, so on and so forth, they may not be able to make it at that time. So think about how you can get creative about giving people a teaser or an idea of what your class is like. This could be snippets of you in action doing the sequencing of the class. It could be, for example, photos of you doing the research or quotes that you will be sharing about in the class. It could be snippets of, for example, you talking to people who have completed the class, or people from the previous series. So any of this could already give people an idea of what it's like to be in your class, to interact with you and to experience that program. And this is really what you want to be doing with creating that trailer for your program. So okay, I'm gonna have a quick look to see if anyone has any questions. Right, please bear with me while I do this. I want to make sure that no one is. Oh, hi Shen, hi. I'm glad to know that you're tuning in. Okay, so please, if you have any questions, any comments, also from your own experience, so I know many of you are experienced yoga instructors as well. Many of you might even be teaching for much longer than me. Please do share them in the comments. Right, this is really a community, and I see it more as an equal sharing platform, and we can all share and learn from our experiences. Okay, so the idea is your ideal client or whoever it is you want to be attracting to your class may not already be excited about your program. So firstly, they don't know that it exists, right? Secondly, even if you talk about it, it's a matter of finding the right words and using the right combination of images, moving image, could be videos, GIF, whatever kind of content, or maybe written articles to attract your clients so that they would then be convinced of your program and want to hop onto your program. So this doesn't necessarily have to be videos, and I want to talk a little bit about this because for me, I'm really focused on moving image and about using videos, using GIFs, using images to capture content, but I'm a very visual person. So if you're not necessarily and you feel that that would be so much work, think about writing content. So one good way of getting people interested in your offerings, right, is to already give them something valuable, offering them insights. So for example, many of you joined the Art of Teaching Yoga group because of the free masterclasses that are in this group. Like almost every week I release a new masterclass or an episode talking about a topic that would be useful for you as a yoga instructor. So you could do the same for your own audience, and it doesn't have to be video. There are many different ways of doing this. Now in the US, what is very popular are podcasts. So instead of video, you could choose, for example, to record yourself talking about a specific topic. You could also write articles as well on a certain topic. For example, if you're working with remote workers who have shoulder aches and back pain, what would be possible exercises that might be useful for them? What tips might be helpful for them that you can offer from your knowledge as a yoga instructor? And also maybe, for example, if you're working with private clients, right? Let's say you're in the field of Ayurveda and you want to get more private clients, then you want to give them an idea of what a private consultation might be like. And you might want to share with them some positive testimonials from previous clients who have done a similar program, and that would entice them to then hop onto your program. So these are all ways kind of to get people excited about your program before you launch it. And this is the best way to do it because you don't want to launch a program and then have no one sign up. So I forgot to mention this, and actually probably this should go at the very beginning, but one of the crucial things is you should know that your program needs to have a demand. One of the biggest, I would say, pitfalls that many yoga instructors, not just yoga instructors, but business owners, entrepreneurs out there make is you have this perfect idea in mind. You're thinking, oh my God, I have this idea for this amazing 8-week restorative yoga program focused on the yamas and niyamas, and it's a topic that you're so interested about. And then you create this entire program, you write out all the sequences, you create all the images on Canva, you promote all to your email list, you, for example, even use Facebook ads or Google ads. And in the end, no one shows up. Why? Because no one is interested. This is not a topic that resonates with your audience, or you didn't convey it in a way that makes sense or that entices your audience. So think about it. For example, for this program is for your audience. So it should excite you, of course, as someone who is doing the course, but you have to think about whether this program would interest your clients, your potential students, and it has to be conveyed in a way using the words that would excite your students. What would your students be excited about? Let's say we go back to the example of the remote desk workers, right? Actually, no one calls themselves a remote desk worker. So you might be considering yourself as a work from home, maybe a translator, or work from home creative, or work from home, administrative clerk. These are some things that people associate with themselves. But even the term that you use, for example, it should be the term that people see themselves as. So for example, the art of teaching yoga is for yoga instructors. So you do see yourself as a yoga instructor, right? So think about that. What term are you going to use to name your program for whoever it is? And it should be very clear to them that, oh, this program is for me. And I actually think it makes sense, it's for me. And then, of course, whatever's within the program, it really has to be based on their needs, so that there's this demand, and so that when you launch this program, it actually makes sense to them why they're doing this. And I know that you might, when we reach this point, you might experience a lot of hesitation. You might be thinking, but how do I know what they're thinking? What should I do? And one of the best ways that you can actually find out what your ideal client would like in a yoga program is to ask, is to spend time to actually ask your students. So many of you, even if you don't have a structured yoga program right now, I know that, for example, you have existing students, you have some experience teaching yoga, right, from some people, and just think about all the people you have taught yoga to in the past, present, and who you hope to teach in the future. And think about your interactions with them. What did they enjoy from your classes? Right, from who they are in terms of their demographic background, what were their needs? What did they express as problems that they felt? Were they aches and pains in their body? Did they feel that there was a spiritual aspect of their body that, was not met? And maybe there's something that you could offer them through the practice of yoga. So this is a very good way of beginning to collect information. And actually the formal term for this is called market research. So the easiest way, if you don't know what your clients want, is to ask them and to start to hang out where they're hanging out. Think about your ideal clients. Which Facebook groups might they be in? Are they even on Facebook? Maybe they're not on Facebook. Maybe they're using other kinds of social media like Instagram. Perhaps they are using TikTok, or even the new app Clubhouse. Right, so these are some ideas. So you should really do this first, and I should have mentioned this at the beginning, because for me it's a given, because my background is in market research, and I often think a lot about this even before I create a program. And I try to be as specific as possible when I create the program, who it is for, what I have in mind, so on and so forth. So I think this is one very, very important point. So assuming you've done all this, assuming you've created the launch, you're preparing the series all the way up to the launch, next I'm going to talk a little bit using the last couple of moments to share one tip that would be very useful. And then if there's extra time, I'll talk a little bit more about the nooks and crannies and like the nuts and bolts of how you can go about to do this. So with every launch, every marketing campaign, or whatever it is you want to begin to sell, like your program, always think with your end in mind. So what is it you want to be selling? And this is why I have mentioned in the post and in my interactions with many of you to drop the drop-in classes. So drop-in classes, firstly, the kind of transformation, the kind of relationship you can have with your clients and students is very brief, very transient, and therefore they don't see the benefit and they don't see how you can really help them. So you want a more sustained kind of connection with your students. So drop that. I mean, if you want to continue to do that as a way of outreach, as a way of making your classes accessible, great. Offer one drop-in class a week. Offer one buy donation class a week. But don't make that your way of living. Don't make that your only way of sustaining yourself. Have a program in mind and make this something that you are very excited about. Make this something that resonates with your ideal clients. Or if you don't know if you're your ideal clients, at least you know some people who might be interested in this program, right? And you're crafting this program for them. Okay, so you have this program in mind, right? Have that at the end. This is what you want to sell. This is what you want to fill. If you have a physical class, you want the entire class to be full. If you have a Zoom class, maybe you don't want to teach more than 8 students, so you want all 8 slots to be filled. And maybe if you are doing a private program, then maybe let's say you have bandwidth for 3 private clients for an 8-week program, then you want all 3 to be booked out. So that's your eventual goal, right? So start with the end in mind and then work backwards from there, and think about all the different stages I mentioned. So there was seeding, right, which is the first part. While you're already working on the content, while you're collecting market research, already start to drop hints to your mailing listees, to your potential students, that hey, there's this thing coming up, hey, you should be excited about this. And this is also what I'm kind of doing with you guys here, right? For many weeks from before, actually, if you guys notice, from last year, I already mentioned there will be a 5-day challenge happening in this group at the end of last year. And then I've been fine-tuning the wording based on whatever the needs of the group have been coming out. I've been adjusting it based on what I think resonates most with you guys. And then I started to create the materials. I started to say in the episodes through these masterclasses with you guys that, hey, look forward to this, look forward to this. So this is the same kind of thing that you can be doing in the seeding phase. And then there is, the next step would be a pre-launch phase, in which you get people to sign up for something, or you get them to have a teaser of something. This would then usually be maybe you get a freebie, so you create a freebie in exchange for maybe their email if you're building an email list. I'll talk more about this in the 5-day challenge because there's not much time within this specific masterclass. So at this stage, what you're really trying to do is to get as many people as possible interested in the program without yet selling it. So maybe in order to sell the 8-week program, you have maybe say a 1-hour special class in which you share with them tips and tricks to relieve back pain and shoulder aches, right? And then to join this free masterclass, what people must do, they must leave their emails. Right? And then they register with you. Or for example, you could create a PDF with a couple of different tips, with snapshots of exercises that show people what are some of the things that they can do in chair yoga positions, if you're teaching chair yoga, of course, to begin to relieve those aches and pains. And in order to sign up for the PDF, what must people do? They must leave their emails. Right, so these are all part of the pre-launch stage. So you want to be sharing this valuable content with people. So people are already like, I'm kind of interested. I'm not paying money yet, so I don't feel I need to commit. But I would like to know more. I would like to be a part of this. And then maybe at a later stage, I will see if I want to really hop on. Right, so after the pre-launch phase, then you actually have the launch. So leading up to the days of the launch, you really need to ramp up. For example, the amount of marketing you're doing should be really more visible on social media, with your mailing list, with whoever you're in contact with. You should be also using various different forms of advertising, for example, on Facebook stories, Instagram Reels. I'm not an Instagram expert, and I'm actually spending very little time on Instagram, and many of you might be actually more experts than me. So please, if you have any personal experiences on using Instagram, on using other ways to begin to market your launches for your programs, share them in the comments. I would love to hear about them, and I'm sure the rest of the group would love to hear about it too. And then the next stage, right after the launch, is when, so you launch the program, right, which might be paid or not paid. In my case, for example, I'm launching the 5-day yoga launch your yoga career challenge, right? And that is not my end goal. I have another end program in mind, and many of you know I'm offering a series of special trainings coming up this year, as well as a yoga career incubator for new yoga instructors who plan to really use this year to begin to set up the foundations for your yoga business, to begin to build an audience, and then start to create a unique brand, find your unique voice, and then create a unique offering that reflects that. So that is actually my end goal. So then after the launch, you would have a period in which, for example, people can purchase your program. And what might be good, so I think we are a little bit off time, but I'll end off with this last tip. What would be good is you always have a pre-sale bonus or some kind of benefit that would entice people to hop on earlier. This could be an early bird price. So for example, a small discount that you can offer for people who are hopping on earlier. Or for example, you could offer them bonuses, like for example, they get an extra session with you. Or for example, they can bring a friend for free. So these are all different examples, or even a special 30-minute consultation, depending on the line of work that you do, right? And then what you really want to do is to get people to already want to block out or to purchase into your program before you get into the main selling time. And you want, before the end of this open cart period, once the cart closes, that hopefully, right, all your slots that you have in mind, right, are filled, and then you would have a sellout 8 weeks. And then for that 8 weeks, what you can do is you can really focus on teaching, you can really focus on serving whoever it is you're serving during this period. And then this cycle would then repeat, right? So if you see what I mean, then this is why it coincides with what I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, which is to plan your cycles. Many of us yoga instructors, I think the biggest obstacle we are facing is we don't have a structured plan. We teach class by class, and even if you teach classes in terms of a program, you have that in mind based on your knowledge of the 200-hour yoga teacher training, and that doesn't translate to answering the needs of your students, of your clients. What is it that is really needed in the world right now, right? And how to bridge that. So if you structure your programs according to the needs of your clients, and then you schedule like the marketing, the launching, the actual program itself, have all this in mind and schedule this according to your own energy levels and your own commitments. So another thing I want you guys to consider before I end off this episode is, I know that many of you have full-time jobs. And even if you don't have full-time jobs, many of you have other family obligations, you have other kinds of commitments. So an important thing to ask yourself would be, how much time can I actually put in over the next X months, maybe 3 months, to offer something? What is my end goal? Would I like to be teaching maybe say once a week, or maybe twice a week, or 3 times a week, for a structured program? What is within my bandwidth? And then how much time do I have for the preparation for that? Because you have the teaching, but then you have the preparation, and then you have the pre-launch, right? All these things that you're doing to get people aware of this program, and then to get excited and then want to purchase the program, and then finally they join your program, right? So think about all this in mind, and take it one step at a time. Don't feel too stressed out. I know that listening to this masterclass, you might be feeling like, oh my god, I've like so much work to be doing, and like, how do I begin? Take baby steps, right? Baby steps is really the way. And then as you progress, it's helpful to plan in advance. So what a lot of yoga instructors do, and those who are more experienced, is at the end of a year, so for example in December 2020, using the last month, which is usually the most quiet because a lot of people are on vacation, right? They might not be attending classes, people will be away during Christmas. They use this time to plan for the coming year. And I know, I didn't manage to plan. I did a little bit of planning, but not enough. And also I was still doing market research at that time. So it's okay if you haven't planned, but use the time right now, whatever time you have in January, and then also take advantage of the upcoming 5-day Launch Your Yoga Career Challenge to begin to plan for the rest of the year. If not for the rest of the year, at least for the first 6 months of the year. Actually, what is my end goal? What would I have liked to achieve, or what would I have liked to put in place by June of 2021? And then working backwards, okay, what are the steps do I need to get there to launch that program? Maybe for the month of April, for the month of May, I want to launch maybe an 8-week, a 12-week program that will take me all the way until June. So working backwards, in March, in February, I have to lay the groundwork. I have to start ramping up all these marketing efforts. I have to start collecting market research and all that. Okay, so I'm going to have a quick look to see if anyone has any questions. Okay, please keep them coming. I hope this masterclass has been useful for you guys, and yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy. I'll stay on for the next couple more moments, because as with Facebook Live, there's always this, you know, I always end the video, and then maybe like 10 seconds later, and I get a notification saying someone like posted a comment, and I didn't manage to see it while I was live. All right, so Constance, thanks for tuning in. All right, and so for those of you who sometime back I mentioned that I am opening up slots for instructors who have already completed your certification, and you wanted to book a free mini consult, 30-minute mini consult. So I'm not selling anything. Within the session, we will just simply discuss your top 1 to 2 challenges, and I will offer you recommendations and strategies that you can do. You can something you can act on right after the call, right? So no strings attached. It's purely for you, and for me, it's purely for market research to understand how I can better serve you. So if you guys haven't yet booked it, right, there's one link within the chat. I'm not taking in any more, but those who have expressed interest, and those of you who were also in my previous program, so Rebecca, that will apply to you as well. If you're interested in booking a 30-minute mini strategy consult with me, please book it in for the month of January, because in February, we'll start to get really, really busy. All right, book that in, and then, yeah, okay, looks like no one has any questions. So thanks so much for tuning in. I hope today's masterclass was useful for you. Don't feel that it's too daunting, right? Just take some time to process this information, and remember baby steps, right? Always take step by step. What can you do today? And, you know, to really get you closer to whatever it is that end goal you have in mind. Okay, all right. So have a great week ahead. Take care, and I'll see you next week.